Dobar dan, poštovani gledalci. Dobrodošli u specijalno izdanje emisije Američki izbori. Naša koleginica Andreja Veskov već 2 nedelje nalazi se u Sjedinjenim Američkim Državama, odakle nas iz sata u sat izveštava o najnovijim informacijama. Do sada smo emitovali nekoliko njenih intervjua, a danas ćete imati ekskluzivnu mogućnost da gledate fantastični intervju sa oficirom protivvazdušne odbrane Sjedinjenih Američkih Država Rickom Elmoreom. On je 13. jula bio među govornicima na Trampovom mitingu u Pensilvaniji, kada je bivši američki predsjednik ranjen u uvo. Pružio je prvu pomoć ubijenom Koriju Komperatoreu, koji je stradao kada je svojim telom zaštitio porodicu. Šta je sve oficir Elmore ispričao našoj koleginici Andreji Veskov, pogledajte u intervjuu koji sledi.
I'm the vice chairman for the Republican committee here in Beaver County. But a lot of people, when I was a candidate, would say, we are tired of seeing candidates come out only during election time. So I vowed to myself, win or lose, I would continue to serve the people. So I stayed course, I kept my feet on the ground, and I kept doing what I do best. And that is get out there, talking to people, going to events, and just being the kind of person that shows up, and not only when it's time for an election. So looking here in Beaver County, the results are about 50-50. It's a true reaction for the people, because there are some people that are Republican who would say, you know what, we're Republican, but we don't support Donald J. Trump. There's people that are Democrat who will say, you know, we support Kamala Harris, but we don't support Bob Casey. My job is to go out and talk to these people and find what is your reasoning, so what is your beliefs, what is your ideal, so that I can best inform you, the voter, about this election. Just because you don't believe or support Donald J. Trump, you can still support other candidates, such as Dave McCormick, Rob McCurry, all the way down to Mike Parrish, who's running in the 16th district. We have to inform our voters that it's not just about the top of the ticket, it's about the totality of those who are running, and that each and every person needs to do their own research for themselves, because just looking at the news media, the paper, the internet, there's a lot of divisiveness that can be brought through those media outlets. You want to find the truth, you want to find the facts, do your own research. So on July 13th was an amazing day. Let me just start off with, I didn't have to be there till 12 o'clock because I was a speaker. I was a special guest. I was coming to speak at the rally to really get the crowd pumped up for the upcoming election. And when I got there were lines of people everywhere waiting to get in, not only to listen to the president speak, but to hear and speak to other people as well. There were also other special guests over there. I get there, I go through the crowd, I get up, the security, they stop me, they do their checks. I go through security checks. I get into the rally, I see my guys here, I guess I'm from Beaver County, I see my special, I would call them special forces guys, but they're police, they're our SWAT team. So I seen our SWAT team, I talked to them for a little bit. I proceeded to go into the rally and just immerse myself with the people, because I'm not someone who sits back and says, oh, I'm special. No, I'm out in the crowd, I'm with the people, I'm talking to people, I'm finding people that drove all the way from DC, people that drove from Florida just to come to this rally. That's how important it was to them. I had my speech earlier that day. I spoke about 3 o'clock, got the crowd energized and ready. And I would tell you, I had a great time, but not only speaking in front of over 30,000 people, I enjoyed just the camaraderie. As you look at the news, you see, and they say that there is distractions, that there is a separation, that there's a line drawn in the Republican Party, that they're attacking each other. You hear all this misinformation. When I was there that day, I didn't see any misinformation. I seen people coming together from as young as 12 years old to as senior as maybe 70. Like, there were people of all ages here at this rally. So that just shows the importance that Donald Trump doesn't just affect the older generation, the middle generation, the younger generation. He affects all different types of generations. So as I'm there at the rally, I had taken my seat because President Trump had came on stage. and he starts talking about immigration. And as everyone sees on the news, and as I continue this, I want to say that my heart goes out to the family. I've been in contact with the family and all the victims, and I tell you that it is a shame of what happened that day. That should have never happened. With the security measures in place and what's going on in the media, that place should have been protected to the highest extent. Everyone did their job, but there could always be more, and we could always have done better. It's with regret to say that someone that lost their life going to an event that they cherish so much. I'm in the crowd, I'm waiting as Donald Trump is speaking. He talks about the immigration, and he shows on screen the source that it came from. It's a government source, so this is factual information that we're receiving. He shows immigration when he was president. He shows the information whenever Joe Biden's president. As we look at this information, and I'm sitting there to Trump's right, so the stage right, I'm sitting right there, and next thing you know, I hear shots ring out. Now, being in the military, I know the sound of gunfire. I've heard it before. But my brain didn't connect immediately. It said, why is there fireworks at a rally with so many people? Why do we have fireworks going off? Who would bring fireworks with all the Secret Service present? I come to find out that it wasn't fireworks, it was gunfire. And that gunfire came from behind me. As soon as I heard it, my gut reaction was to get everybody around me down. Because at that point, the military mode kicked in, and it said that your job is to save as many people as you can. Get people to safety, get them out of harm's way, because that's what you're trained to do. Serving this country, you're trained to serve. You're there for service. I'm not there to be better than anybody else. I'm there to serve the people, and that's how I carry my life. So as I'm there, and these bullets are ringing out, I believe it was a total of 8. So there was some from the gunman, as we learned, by the name of Crooks. And then there was some return fire by the police, the snipers. And in the back of my mind, was I scared? Yes. I was afraid, because I'm here at a rally that with so much excitement and so many people that are just here in camaraderie and here together to have this happen. So your highest high was brought down to your lowest low. I hear someone yell, medic. We need a medic. I immediately turn around and I see in the stands people just waving their arms. Now, throughout this whole entire day, I was, as just a regular person, had put myself into helping, because I just naturally help people. So I was helping the medical staff the entire day get people in and get people out, along with other members and other friends I was with, Sean Purnell and JD Longo. They were helping other people get in and out because it was hot. It was 96 degrees, and we had people passing out. So we were getting them carried out, getting them water all day. So my gut reaction was to grab my water bottle and take my tie off. At the same time I'm doing this, my adrenaline is coursing. And my thought is, what am I doing? And a little voice, and I tell you, I'm really grounded in my faith, in my belief. And I was just picked up out of my chair and driven to aid, to help those who needed help. I was yelling at everyone to get down. I ran to the barrier. I hopped over a barrier. It's a little fence, I would say probably about maybe 3 to 4 feet high. I hopped over that. I ran up in the stands, and that's the point where I seen Corey Compouture, who was deceased due to the gunshot wounds from Crooks. I then, with Dr. Sweetland, we provided aid. Now, we both knew at the time that the injuries that were sustained were life-threatening injuries. Like I said, my prayers go out to his family at this moment and every day, because they came to the rally with their father and left without. Just imagining that brings a sense of chills over you. to know that you were at your highest high, enjoying a moment in history with your family, and the next moment, you lose someone. As I'm there providing aid to Corey along with Dr. Sweetland, we both look at each other and we continue to provide aid. Now you can say that's divine intervention. You can say that's what we're trained to do as a doctor and as a military. But my thought was that if we keep going, we can provide him precious minutes to get to the medical team and then to get to the hospital. We can save this man's life. That was the only thing that I was thinking at that time. Ultimately, at the end, it didn't work, but we did all that we could do. We get Corey back to the medical tent. We get him, we carry him out, we get him around. And then it's his wife, his family, they're distraught. For good reason. They were literally sitting next to their husband and father when the shots rang out, and he draped his body over his family to protect them from getting shot. If he had not have done that, they could have been the ones. But instead, he paid the ultimate sacrifice to save his family and ultimately lost his life in doing so. That's a hero. I'm just an innocent bystander who happened to be there. Okay. Yes, whenever I was providing aid, I was holding the towel next, like on his head, and I was applying pressure so that as he was bleeding, that I could slow the bleeding process down. That way we can save him a little bit longer. That if we were able to hold the blood in and hold pressure on his head, that we would be able to allow him those precious seconds of life. Well, as I'm holding his head, I never seen the entry wound. I only seen an exit. As I'm holding him, my hand slips because you can imagine the excitement and the scared in the crowd. So I'm trying to calm people down as well as make sure I'm doing my job of holding him. At that point, my hand slips down and I look down and I see the entry and exit wound. I then turn my body to shift it so that nobody else can see what I just seen. Because nobody else should have to see, especially the family. His wife was over my right shoulder. So imagine me, I'm standing just like this and he's positioned right here in my arms. I turn my body to shield her eyesight from seeing the body, as well as his daughters and his other family that was there. Because no one should have to see that and no one should have to go through that. So I try to take on that burden and I hope that it worked. So as I'm shielding it, I got his blood on my shirt, my pants, my shoes, and I happened to wear a white shirt that day. So I have contacted the family. I talk to them almost on a day-to-day basis, if not every other day. They find solace in the fact that people came to the aid of the defenseless. People came to the aid of complete strangers. That right there is the true nature and roots of America that we forget too often. So
they're going to be fine.
They will have a lot of pain and a lot of hurt, but as time progresses, they'll never forget. They'll never forget July 13th. As long as they all shall live, they'll never forget that day, because their father, their husband, their brother, their uncle was taken away. But they will always also remember the fact that complete strangers were there for them, that people cared and loved them, that there are those in this world who want nothing but good for them. And I think that in those moments of difficulty, they will have that compassion that is needed. The family has been brought together even deeper and more than what it was before. That I think that is, you have to look at the results, yes, but you have to find the good things that have happened, because if you sit there and you dwell on the negativity, it will eat you up inside. And we can't have that. So to the people in Serbia, you know, the conflict that's going on in Europe currently is very diverse. You have so many reasons behind why Russia, Ukraine, or any other place in Europe is fighting, okay? We can only speculate why based on maybe historical facts or based on our own knowledge. So I look at things in a different perspective. Why is Russia trying to take over Ukraine? My thought behind it is, and this is only my opinion, is the fact that you look at Russia in, we'll go back 1989, before the Soviet Union fell, during the Cold War, you look at how big and vast Russia was. And then they were chopped up because of what? Maybe there was some kind of accords, maybe there was an agreement, different pieces of paper that was slid across the desk and said, hey, you sign this, we're gonna break you guys down and we're gonna move forward in life and we're not gonna have this war. Okay? Not exactly in that manner, but you see this. And Russia today's like, you guys took what was ours and broke it apart. This is like me coming to your house and saying, you know what? I'm taking your kitchen and your garage. But you can have upstairs, you can have downstairs, you can have the basement, but I'm taking your kitchen and garage. That's not going to make you happy. And it doesn't make Russia happy. So that's one reason why I think they're invading Ukraine. And then in my research, to come to find out that there are parts of Ukraine, parts of the Ukrainian people who are and want to be a part of Russia, and there are people who don't want to be a part of Russia. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Then, another thing I look at is when you look at, now this is going way back, we look at the end of the war, the Great War, the Second Great War. And when NATO was founded, and the whole thing there was to stop the communism from spreading. And they're like, you know, the United States says, you know what, we're going to put NATO here. We're going to stop it right here. We're not going to go any farther into Germany, and we're not going to keep going. We're going to just stop right here at Germany's doorstep. Well, now we have individuals who are in NATO that are past Germany that are right next door to Russia. So how would you feel if, and I'm not saying that any of this stuff is good, I'm not saying that this is why this is happening, this is just my opinion and my perspective on it. If I moved next door to you and played my music all night while you're trying to sleep, you're not going to be happy. In fact, if I told you when I moved in that I won't play music loud anymore, and then the next night I'm playing loud music again, you are going to be mad, furious, and probably call the police on me. That is the same mindset that Russia's having. So those are just two incidents in history where, I hate to say it because I'm very proud of my country. I'm very proud to be an American. I have traveled this world. I've been to Australia, where they don't have a Second Amendment. I've been to Germany, where they don't have a Second Amendment. In fact, I was in Belgium, and they said they can't even have guns in their museums. That they have to get special paperwork to even have a firearm, and they have to make the firearm incomplete or decommissioned by drilling a hole through it or throwing a screw through it or taking the firing pin out. But you can't reassemble that weapon. So I say that to say, I'd be mad too. And in this great country that we have some negative things that we have done. But what can I say? It's a country worth living. It's a country worth fighting for. And that's why I'm in the military for as long as I am, going on 16 years, because I believe that this country can be great, but it has to be led the right way. We cannot lead a country that is solely based on worrying about the upper class, worried about what's going to make these folks rich, not without understanding and realizing that our citizens, our middle class, our lower class, our veterans, we're looking at so many different types of people and groups that need help, where this country is more apt to help those across the sea before it helps their own people out. And I think that is wrong, and that is a reflection of our leadership. So I would say, due to my minimum involvement with NATO, because I am not on the floor, so to speak. I am not in the trenches with NATO. Whenever there's NATO operations in the military, I go. We're in support of X, Y, Z, whatever the situation may be. So I have no direct input on what NATO can and can't do. I just know from historical standpoints, NATO has grown more than what it had originally planned, based on historical thoughts. So when you look at what's going on in the Middle East, and as I said earlier, I'm very grounded in my faith. You look through history again, and you can see how Israel has been in conflict for such a long period. The Middle East has been in conflict for such a long period. Going back to biblical days, the Middle East has been in conflict. And these conflicts have been prophesized throughout biblical history. I mean, when you look at the different tribes, when you look at the brothers, when you look at so many different aspects, you start to think to yourself, why are we as the United States involved in conflicts that are not protecting, developing, or promoting our own people in this country? And as you sit back and think, so many things come up. Number one, you look at is money. You look at oil. You look at goods and services. You look at developing. These are things that have now taken the mindset of our politicians and those who create laws and run for office. These things have taken maybe their original reasoning for running for office and has changed the mindset. Because as they say, money being the root of all evil, or money talks, whoever has the biggest purse controls the strings. So just looking at that is a huge factor. But I will tell you, in my personal opinion in the Middle East, is that a lot of this stuff is based on biblical and religious grounding. Do I believe that Israel deserves to have a state? Yes. I think that people deserve to have a home. People deserve to have a place they can lay their head at night and feel safe. I own my home. They should own theirs. But when you look at the conflict, the Palestinians have their own beliefs too. This is, they may believe this is our territory. This is our land. You came and took it from us. The Israelites will say, no. This was God promised to us. I mean, you look at an area in the world, as in the Middle East, where you have three of the major religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all centered in one area. That is three battling religions. And they're not just small. They are vast, all battling for one area. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be destruction in the name of whatever they believe in. So as the United States looks upon this, we can make a decision and we can talk about it. But the biggest thing is we're not there. We have no skin and no stake in the game. We have thousands of military members who may be fighting in these conflicts. We have families that are over there losing their loved ones in these conflicts. But what is our skin and stake in this game? I don't know. And that is a shame for the American people to send their sons, their daughters, their loved ones overseas to fight in wars, but they don't know why. I signed my name on a dotted line to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But why am I fighting on foreign soil and not know the reason? Maybe it's time for our elected officials to let us know. I would expect an answer. Are they going to give me one? I don't know. I mean, there's so much red tape. There's so much interference, governmental. There's so much that goes on outside of what the general population knows, that we can only hope that the people that we elect to office truly care about the people and not themselves. That's what we can hope. That is our dream. But do we see it happening? You decide. I would say, as much as I want to, there's, as you know, OPSEC, there's certain things that I can say, there's certain things that I can't say. So I can tell you that, you know, my day-to-day life is to provide a service to the military, to the Air Force, to other entities in different branches. I am a mechanic by trade, so I am a worker bee. I don't sit in an office and answer phones and ask questions, and, you know, I'm a worker. I get dirty, I get my hands dirty, and I lead, you know, my team to getting a job done. We, you know, from time to time, we do have people go out. Once you, and I'll tell you, you know, once you leave here, you know, once you leave the States, and you're under the guise of you know, the military, you know, you can go anywhere. There is no, yes, you may go here, but then you may go here. So, you know, we never know. Leaving, we can always hope we're going where they tell us. But with the conflicts in the world today, you really, truly don't know. I will tell you that there is a sense of patriotism in my life. When I walked across that stage to graduate basic training, which is hard. Now there are branches, you know, the branches in the military, we pick on each other. We have our sayings about each other. We make jokes. It's all good fun and good humor, but I tell you this, whenever you have more than one military man or woman in a room, it's camaraderie, 100%. But I would tell you, you know, I have a daughter. If she says, Dad, I want to go into the Air Force, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, or even Space Force, I would tell her, go. Because I will support my daughter in whatever she wants to do in her life. Because I'm a parent. And as a parent, and especially as a father, you are there to not only be a role model, but also to encourage, to support, to stand by them. So if my daughter says she wants to go into the military, and she says she wants to go into the Air Force, I would be so excited. But if she wants to go in the Army or the Marines or the Navy or any other branch, I would still support her. I just might not be as excited. When it comes down to veterans, this country does a poor job and a poor showing of taking care of their veterans. There is no reason why one veteran should be homeless. Not one. Because the veterans are the reason why the freedoms that the government even gets to practice.
Wait, you have veterans that are homeless?
Yes. We have homeless veterans. There are many of them. In fact, I have fielded calls for veterans due to maybe an illness, due to circumstances, because let's face it, every veteran is not okay. They have trauma, they have PTSD, they have medical injuries that they may have succumbed to 20, 30, 40 years ago, and now it's affecting them as they get older. PTSD doesn't just happen overnight. It's something that sits on your mind. As a young man, I can handle any kind of PTSD. I believe so. But I may see something I can't handle, and I may compartmentalize it 20 layers down the road, it might just snap back and I may not be able to handle it. We as a country need to support our veterans and active service members, because without them, we would not be a country. And that's the government. The government is supposed to look after our military. The federal government especially is supposed to look after our military. Now, there are programs that are set into place to help veterans. But there are also rules and regulations to these programs. There are, we have the VA, we have the veterans, medical assistance and stuff like that veterans can go to. They can go to the VA hospital. That's great. But what if the VA, what if you have to go to the VA? We're in Beaver County right now. There's a 45-minute drive to get to the VA medical clinic that's in Aspinwall. Well, if you can't drive and you don't know someone to take you, how do you get there? You get a cab, you get an Uber, you get a Lyft, you get the bus. I mean, what do? Thankfully, we have people in Beaver County that will transport back and forth. We have, I know a gentleman individually by name, his name is Jer, I call him Jer. He was in the Navy, so I like to poke with him a little bit. He will, every single day, if a veteran calls him and needs transportation, he will go. He's retired, he will go, pick him up, and take care of him, which is a godsend. But the government needs to do more. I'm telling you, there is no way that a veteran should be homeless to have to figure out where their next meal's coming from. Veterans need other veterans, and I hope, and that's my goal. Is if I ever get into office, is that my focus is strictly on veterans, because they're the ones who paid the ultimate sacrifice. So to answer your first question, do I believe that there will be something that happens on election day with the results? No, I do not. I want to say no because I would hope that we could have a fair and free election. But that's just my opinion. When you look at elections, from the very beginning of time, you've seen there are many irregularities, from the New York riots. You look at way back in, let's say, 1900s, where you're being forced to vote for this person, or they may have a bunch of people falsify ballots. They may coerce you to vote for this person, even though you don't want to, and if you don't, they may beat you up. These are things that we see in history, and it's like, did we not learn from history? You have candidates, and it may not be the candidate themselves, but you have other outside sources that will put information out there just to disenfranchise people. Here goes an example. I have spoken to Dave McCormick. He is running against Bob Casey. I have spoken to Dave extensively about number one topic, and it comes down to abortion, which I may add, in Pennsylvania, in the United States, the abortion topic is no longer a federal discussion. It is the state's choice. So when you elect your state representatives and your state senators, it is their responsibility to have a law for and or against abortion, or in between. I talked to Dave McCormick and I said, Dave, let's be frank here. Are you for or against the abortion? He told me face to face that there are exceptions for everything. That you cannot be one way or the highway. If there is a woman who is raped who goes through a brutal situation and needs to have an abortion, okay. If there is a thought of incest, okay. If there, in fact, is a medical reasoning that she should have an abortion, okay. And those are the three things that me and Dave discussed. There could be other things too. But when you look at the media, it only tells you yes or no. These kind of questions aren't black and white. They are a multitude of grays. And we, as American citizens, have to realize that some of these things aren't black and white. If I said and put a law into effect that you have to stop at every red light, okay, that's the law. Because if you don't, you're going to hit somebody else and cause them damage. We don't look at the second, third, and fourth effects of what we put into practice. Instead, I feel, in my opinion, the American people, they look at key phrases, and key words, and the excitement. If I talk about abortion, I'm going to have two very distinct groups of people that say, I'm for it or I'm against it. If I look at other things, not even abortion, let's turn the screen. Let's look at immigration. Some people would say that there are people coming in from other countries and other areas of the world seeking asylum because their country is led by a dictator. Their country may be Marxist. Their country may be a socialist society. You know, these are very real things in this world today that scare people every day. That, hey, if I go and vote, I got to vote for this person because my government is telling me to. People go through that. So they may want to leave that and come here because we are a melting pot. We should just take in everybody, but we can't. It sounds good in theory. It sounds good on paper, but we cannot do such. Why? Number one, we can't even help our homeless veterans with housing and medication. How are we going to help others? We can't. It's too difficult. That's why there is a plan set in action to bring anyone who wants to immigrate into this country. There is a means and a way to do such. Opening the borders and allowing everyone just to come in and figure it out later is not the right way. In fact, it literally spits in the face of every person who came here the correct way and legally through the system. Why is it that they had to spend money, they had to fight, they had to go take tests, they had to call the consulate, they had to go to New York, or they had to go to Texas, or wherever in the world, they had to jump over all these hoops to become a citizen, to get their green card, become a citizen of this country, of this state, of this Commonwealth, or wherever they're from, going to, they have to go through all this when someone down the street gets to come for free. That is not the way in America, and that is not the Constitution that we have fought to uphold. To your second question, do I think that there will be unrest whether either candidate wins? I can tell you, as you look in the past, in history, that people get mad. The good thing that we have in this country, in the United States, is the freedom of speech, First Amendment, freedom to protest, freedoms in the media. We have all these freedoms, 1 through 10, the Bill of Rights in our Constitution. We have freedoms that are God-given rights to the people of the United States of America. We have 27 amendments in our United States Constitution that governs America. But yet, we get mad when somebody chooses to believe or do something else that you don't believe is right. I tell you this, I have talked to many people. I have knocked on so many doors. And I have heard that there are people who do not support former President Trump. There are people who do. There are people who don't support Kamala Harris. There are people who do. But it doesn't make anybody a bad person for who they support. It's their decision, and they have to make a decision for themselves. Being that I'm the vice chairman in the Republican Party here in Beaver County, I will tell you this, that there will be nobody at all, nobody in the Beaver County Republican Committee that's going to be out there causing trouble on election day or the day after. Because we will hold ourselves to the accountability. Yes, we could be mad if it doesn't go Republican. But we will still stand tall and stand strong. Because I tell you, this county, Beaver County's Republican Committee, they worked their tails off. They worked hard day and night. They're out knocking doors right now. It's going to be dark in half an hour. They're knocking doors, making phone calls, and calling people to remind them that the most important election is coming. We are getting out there and talking to the people. In fact, our candidates are out there talking to people because we care about the people. We want to know what the people want, and we're not going to make a decision that's based on our own opinion, but we're going to make a decision that's based on the people's opinion. So I give it to our candidates here in Beaver County that we are not, our candidates, our volunteers, we are not going to be protesting, even though we have the First Amendment right to do so if it doesn't go our way. We are not going to do such because we are law-abiding citizens and we are going to uphold the law. And if whoever becomes the president, vice president, congressman or woman, we are going to accept what happens. But I will tell you that we will remain vigilant throughout this whole process. We're not going to sit back and allow for any irregularities to happen. If there's a situation where, and I'll tell you, when I ran, I had people at a polling location that came to me and said, I never received nor applied for a mail-in ballot. But when I came to my polling location, they told me that I had received and requested a mail-in ballot. Well, what do? They had to fill out a provisional ballot. They can still vote. But hold on, you never received one and you never applied for one. But why does this paper say you did? That's an irregularity that needs to be looked into. And followed up by that, I had, and this is true. This is a true statement. I know an individual who has a green card. Now, you can't vote. You're not on the voter roll with a green card. They received a mail-in ballot application. So to my curiosity, I said, I went down to my elections office, and I tell you, in Beaver County, our election office is top-notch. They are very meticulous in what they do. We have a great director down there, Colin Sis, who does a very good job. So I go down there and I talk to him personally. I want to hear from the director who's in charge. How do you send mail-in ballots out? The voter rolls. We get the voter rolls, prints out, and we send them in the mail. Okay, and this was in 2019. They do that. Okay, so now my next question is, if you send them to the voter rolls, generating the mailing list from the voter rolls, why is there somebody on the voter roll then that has a green card? They can't vote. So, irregularities? Yes.
Rico, thank you for this. This interview, and let's just have a joke for the end of this conversation. Do people tell you often that you look like Will Smith?
You know, I've been told a little bit I look like Will Smith ever since I was a little kid. But the sad thing is I haven't received any royalties from that. So hopefully Will Smith decides to give me a call and says, here, I'll give you some money because you look like me. But until then, I'm going to keep pressing the ground hard. I'm going to keep getting our candidates elected. And we're going to take this thing come Tuesday.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.